Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored and delighted to be joining you virtually for the Arizona Historical Society's 2025 annual membership meeting. My name is Dr. Grant Knox, and I am an assistant professor of music at San Jose State University, where I also serve as the associate director of bands and director of athletic bands. Today's keynote presentation merges the historical world with that of the classical world to bring you a glimpse into the life and legacy of one of Arizona's lesser-known musical heroes. What can we learn from music history by celebrating regional affiliation and identity within one's upbringing? How can this shed light on culture and community within a place? Today, a brief exploration of the life of composer and proud Tucsonan Ulysses K. will help us answer that question. Ulysses K. was born in Tucson, Arizona on January 7, 1917. He attended Tucson High School from 1930 to 1934, where he continued honing skills acquired as a kid as a pianist, violinist, and saxophonist. His individual musical development was bolstered by participating in the school's glee club, marching band, and jazz band. K went on to pursue a bachelor's degree in music at the University of Arizona, where he studied piano and music theory, which laid the foundation for his interest in composition. K graduated from the University of Arizona in 1938 and continued on to finish a master's degree in music composition from the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. As an established composer later in his career, Ulysses K. frequently returned to Tucson as both a guest conductor and guest composer. The Tucson Symphony Orchestra proudly championed K's music for its compositional brilliance, in addition to taking advantage of the opportunity to celebrate one of their own. K's compositional career spanned nearly 50 years, as his first work was composed as a student at the University of Arizona in 1938, and his final work, an opera based on the life of Frederick Douglass, was completed in 1985 and premiered in 1991. K wrote within a wide variety of musical genres, as his compositional legacy is often rooted in his genre versatility and melodic ingenuity. K embraced the neoclassical styles that were popular throughout the mid-20th century, writing music that was classical in its use of form and structure, but modern in its use of tonal language and harmonic presentation. Moreover, K embodied the liberated aesthetic approach that many of his mid-century contemporaries held, in that he did not feel particularly tied to the expressions of Black musical idioms and cultural vernacular within classical composition that other composers predating him did, such as William Grant Still, Florence Price, R. Nathaniel Dett, and countless others. Furthermore, as composition entirely became a more equitable pursuit for young musical minds in the mid-20th century, the racial barriers to legitimacy no longer required a composer of color to write within that aforementioned cultural expression to forge new heights. When asked about his relationship to Black music and its aesthetic and technical presentations, K stated bluntly, "I have nothing especially other than its expressive content." And further, when he was asked, what does it mean to be a Black composer, he simply replied, "Someone who is Black who writes music." K's contributions to the landscape of American classical music during the 20th century went well beyond composition. In 1958, K traveled to the Soviet Union as part of a delegation of composers with the purpose of engaging in a musical exchange with Russian composers and audiences. This was one diplomatic effort in a series of concerted State Department efforts to both ease Cold War tensions and promote American democratic capitalism through art and music. While in Russia, K enjoyed a performance of his symphonic work Of New Horizons, while also sharing the jazz records of Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Thelonious Monk with Russian composers. Perhaps more notable than K's upbringing in Tucson were his frequent returns to Arizona as a celebrated musical artist. The first of these performances was during the Tucson Symphony Orchestra's 1941 to 1942 concert season. Under the direction of George C. Wilson, the symphony performed two movements from Kay's Sinfonietta, composed in 1939, and one of the earliest works that Kay recognizes in his discography. The program spoke highly of Kay's work, stating, quote, "The Tucson Symphony Orchestra tonight has had the pleasure of giving the first performance of a new work by a rising young composer who was, until recently, a Tucsonan and University of Arizona student. The work is Sinfonietta, the latest composition by Ulysses Kay, a young black composer who was born in Tucson and who distinguished himself sufficiently during his student days at the local university to win a scholarship to Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. There, he is now working for an advanced degree, and his works have been performed by several major symphony orchestras," end quote. This time that Kay was able to come back to the University of Arizona just shortly after his time as a bachelor's student was very formative in solidifying his compositional path at Eastman, as well as gaining widespread recognition amongst major symphony orchestras around the country for the legitimacy of his symphonic works. Ulysses Kay also received numerous recognitions from his alma mater, the University of Arizona. By all accounts, he held a regular spirit of gratitude when it came to all parts of his relationship with the cultural institutions of the state. Kay received an honorary doctorate from the University of Arizona in 1969. He was notified of this honor in a letter directly from the president of the university, Richard A. Harville. In addition to his honorary doctorate, Kay was also presented the University of Arizona's Alumni Achievement Award in 1980, which he greatly valued. Finally, Kay was inducted to the Tucson High School Badger Hall of Fame in 1992. Among all of his successes, arguably the biggest testament to Kay's success is the respect and recognition afforded in his home state of Arizona. Kay's distinguished career remains as one of the most substantial musical achievements by an Arizona native and by a black composer of classical music. In a 1968 letter from a staff member of the Tucson Daily Citizen, the writer shared this sentiment, quote, "I am happy that you are still one of our bright musical lights, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you as you proceed," end quote. The celebration of Kay's music by Arizona institutions such as the U of A and Tucson Symphony Orchestra cemented Kay's importance to the landscape of American classical music and music history in Arizona. On a personal note, my exposure to Kay began when I was a master's student at the University of Arizona, pursuing a degree in musicology from 2018 to 2020. Little did I realize in my interest in and desire to study black music and black composition, little did I realize that there was a composer from Arizona that walked these same halls that I did. It was an easy match for what I wanted to focus my master's degree studies on, and I look forward to continuing to research the life and legacy of Ulysses Kay, his compositions, and his contributions to the state of Arizona and the landscape of American classical music. Thank you.